Wen People Talk, Community Podcast. Wen People Talk, Community Podcast, yeah.
What's up, guys? Welcome to the next episode of Wen People Talk. I'm Bills, and we're joined here today with Alex Hidalgo of StormX.
Hey, everybody. I'm Alex. I'm the Chief Product Officer for StormX, and I've been working with the company for over 4 years now. Now the CPO, but started as a programmer. So that's some of my background so far.
That's pretty cool because I remember when Simon put out the tweets. I think they put out a tweet and then a blog post. It was like, Alex is now our CPO, and I was like, that's the brains of the operation right there.
Yeah, right.
Anytime you're mad, just point at that. No, I'm just kidding. But I did want to ask you, how did we can kind of go into crypto, but kind of. How did you find StormX? Like, how did you first get involved with StormX?
Let's see, how far back do we want to go? I started with working in the tech industry at a former startup. Moved that company around and ended up in San Francisco. Learned how to code out there. Eventually took a hiatus, hiked a section of the Pacific Crest Trail. Was just trying to get my mind right, doing a bunch of things to just spend time out in nature. And then they got off the trail and needed a job. And that was 2018. I was starting to get into crypto and just personally, and reached out to some people that worked at the company that I knew, flew up for an interview and started working with everyone. And that was doing full stack JavaScript programming. And then eventually, this is what I did at the last company I was at. I started in engineering department and then moved my way into like operations and product. And this is the second time I've gravitated towards that. And I think I'm gonna stick with product. I really enjoy it. It's another really creative type of role, kind of like engineering, but bigger picture stuff.
That's awesome. So I want to go back a little bit. So you climbed the Pacific North Crest. Is that what you said?
Yeah, the Pacific Crest Trail. So that's a trail that goes from Mexico to Canada on the West Coast.
Wow.
I started.
That's a pretty big expedition there. That's awesome.
Yeah.
How long did that take you?
So I didn't do the whole trail. I did a section that got me to the Sierra Nevadas. Mm-hmm. So out past the Mesa next to Los Angeles, and then took a break from the trail. There was a bunch of ice storms going on, and everybody was flip-flopping on the trail or going to Grand Canyon, doing other things because we were kind of hunkered down. Went out to Florida, met my family, slept in a real bed, got drunk with my dad, talked through things and with some other friends. And then I was like, you know what? I don't need to go back to the trail. I feel great. I burnt out of a previous startup that was really rough, and I'm ready to go back to work. I'm excited, got the energy, so started getting back into it.
That's awesome. So you went out searching and kind of found what you needed and was like, all right, now I got to go back and get a job.
That's what that trail is for. A lot of people you meet out there, they're all searching for something.
That's awesome. I was before, when we decided that I was going to interview you next, I don't know how I went down a rabbit hole, but I'd found an Instagram video of you, and I'm not gonna dox you or anything like that, but like it was like a quick video, and you were like on a lakeside and you're eating chili mangoes, and I was like chili mangoes. I was like, this is my guy. I love chili mangoes. I was like, yeah, it was meant to be, but like it was just cool. It was just a little video, and like the backdrop was just amazing. Everything was like frozen over, and y'all were just like sitting down eating. It was just really cool.
Oh, I know the video. Yeah. That was in a trail outside of Seattle, Washington. Was that the one with the bird? And I'd feed the bird?
That's what it was. You were feeding the bird out of your hand. I was like, this is awesome. I was like, this guy lives a cool life. I like this guy, man.
Oh yeah. Washington's a beautiful place, but I'm in Miami now. I just moved this past week. I will miss Washington for all its beauty, but I'm excited about being next to the ocean again. I'm more of a water person than a mountain person.
Yeah, man, guarantee there's a lot of fresh things to see over in Miami too. Man, that whole city has really turned into crypto central, hasn't it?
It has. Mayor Suarez has done a good job pulling crypto companies, working on biotech as well, trying to move companies out there. BTC Miami, one of the most successful BTC conferences, is out there every year now. So there's a lot going on. Good crypto community, good regulatory environment. Florida is really open to things changing. Might be adopting some of Wyoming's DAO LLC framework stuff. So yeah, it's a good place to be, and it's warm.
So another thing I found on my quick little stalking session before I interviewed you, I saw that you were into Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu.
Yeah, love
Yeah,
it.
you wanna tell me about how you kind of found that?
For sure. So I've done some form of martial arts since high school. I've done lots of different kinds, but a couple of years ago, got into jujitsu, and by far that's my favorite one. It's like great community of people. It's very playful. It's also very humbling, and you learn a lot really quickly, both just like mentally, not just like skills, like what kind of moves can you do, but you learn a lot about yourself and just people, and it's a lot of fun. I've taken somewhat of a break because of COVID, but I did have a chance to like build a little jujitsu pod in Seattle. Our apartment, I lived with my training partner, so we had no furniture, and we just had a wrestling mat for the whole living room, and we would just invite our jujitsu, training partners in our pod over, and we would just roll for hours and hang out. So it's a good time.
No need for TV, no need for couches. Like, look, we're gonna meet on the
Yeah,
mat. That's awesome. What a perfect little Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu bachelor pad, man.
it was great. It was so much fun.
Okay, so one thing I did want to talk to you. I keep saying that. Matt, one more thing. So one thing I specifically wanted to talk to you about is kind of your passions around a subject that that StormX is now kind of dipping its toes into, and
Mhm.
something you've shown great passion about is just DAOs and DAOs in general. I was what kind of I guess what inspires you to dig down the rabbit hole of what these DAOs are going to and what they're becoming.
Mhm. Yeah, I think for me, it's the same thing that drives me doing most anything I've done in my career. And it's just trying to leave the place better than you found it, trying to build useful things, trying to eventually, have kids in a world that want to work a certain way, and you enjoy. And I think DAOs is one stepping stone that gets us there. Still very early, still very
Yeah.
experimental. You can hop into any crypto community or DAO, and at the end of the day, it's still people just trying to figure things out, which is really hard. Um, but there's some inherent characteristics that are different than the traditional systems we've been using. Some of the software we use now is making it opens up new possibilities, and so there's a lot to explore. There's a lot of design space. We're not going to figure it out right away, but there's some hints of some really good things coming.
I've noticed that I've looked into a couple DAOs, and I actually ended up stumbling into a smaller size DAO myself. But it's just like you said, kind of figuring it out along the way. Like that could be that
Yeah,
could be the title of this section of life. You know what I mean? Just
for sure.
figuring it out along the way. Like it's such a crazy idea, right? It's like every voice has power, but at the same
Mhm.
time, you still have to collect everyone's voice and get everyone to equally contribute at the same time. Like that's one thing I've seen that StormX has done really well so far. It's kind of like putting out the message of like, look, this is when we're going to vote on this thing. This is the best time to discuss this thing, and kind of laying out a chart. And I've seen others where it's like, hey, I just posted a proposal on Snapchat, like you better find it. And you're like, when did we talk about this? So, but that's, I mean, it's such a cool concept. But
it is.
Yeah, I mean, kind of, I guess, where do you see that evolving into? Do you have you thought about it that far? Or?
Yeah, absolutely. It's that's the big question for I think all of crypto and then DAOs as well. It's like, where is this all going? When do we get there? Can we get there? In terms of what we're trying to do for StormX and the governance that we've been working on, it's to start decentralizing some of the processes and products that we have in the ecosystem to the community, so that we build better products in the end, and really hone in on our vision, which is just to help people earn in crypto. And one of the ways that historically people just earn is just by doing work. And so by moving some things from centralized StormX to decentralized community, that opens up more opportunities to do work and earn. So that's one aspect of it. And and when is that going to happen? It's really hard to tell. Some of that depends on StormX and us helping the community get to certain milestones that we've been starting to discuss on calls and write in docs. And then also the community coming together and saying, this really is an awesome opportunity. We need to focus on this and spend time to get it to where we want it to be. And we're starting to see that. We have people voting on the proposal. It's out right now. We had really good community calls with really smart people who are asking hard questions about are the choices that people can select on this proposal really biased? And StormX wrote the proposal, so it was biased. And we changed a lot of things, and we made it more fair and trying to make it more representative of people that weren't on those calls and weren't able to maybe read the docs. So yeah, it's off on the right foot, but still so much left to do.
That's a really, we don't have to make the whole podcast about StormX, but it's exciting. Yeah. We like to talk about it, but it's really cool because instead of a company or product or crypto in general starting decentralized and kind of becoming more and more, it's like you have a centralized company that is pushing towards decentralization and kind of being like, look, we can adapt this as quick as we can come together and kind of write the rules together, which is really interesting. It's kind of like, this, StormX's DAO or their governance. It's really one of those deals where it's like the possibilities are endless as long as we equally agree to the rules and kind of getting there, So that's really cool. But I definitely, I wanted to ask you a little bit more of like, what was your upbringing like? Like what kind of pushed you into the tech side of things?
Into the tech scene. It's a great question. Why did I do this originally? I think it was a bit of pain in terms of the things I was doing at the time before I got into just tech careers in general was, just not enjoying what I was doing, and then wanting better pay. So, I think I was writing at the time SAT biology curriculum for a company. So my schooling was in pre-med biology and then some philosophy, and did a lot of random stuff after that. My first job out of college was actually working for a winemaker in Napa and made wine there. And that by far one of the hardest jobs I've ever done in my life.
Tell me a little bit about that. That's I feel like
Yeah.
every question I ask, I'm just getting a completely crazy answer from it. It's like I
Yeah.
didn't, like not in a bad way. Like it's just like it's pretty cool. The more I find out about you, it's like we're peeling off this other layer of like adventure you went on. But I want to hear more about this time in Napa.
For sure. Yeah, it's let's see what happened. I graduated college, told my parents I didn't want to go to medical school, and many years later they told me they were actually very disappointed. At the time they were trying to be very supportive.
That's good. At least they gave you that time, the little buffer area.
Let me grow some thicker skin.
Yeah.
And so I was out in Napa wine tasting, and I talked to a winemaker and was like, yeah, I just graduated. I'm looking for a job. He's like, oh yeah, we've got some jobs. Come interview this week. So on vacation, I interview. He's like, great. Yeah, you're hired. You start at this time. I drive back to Texas, pack up my stuff, drive back to Napa, and move into some random room, rent some space, and start working for this winery. And the best way I can explain it, I was the Oompa Loompa to Willy Wonka. So Willy Wonka, the winemaker, would have this idea like, this is what we need to do. This is like the product I want. And then all the cellar hands, all the Oompa Loompas go and actually do the reality part of it.
Yeah.
Like, how do you make 100,000 gallons of wine taste exactly like this? What it looks like in real life is you are doing a lot of like, it's like Legos, but adult size Legos for like electrical pumps and plumbing and, doing some chemical analysis on wine and fermenting with yeast. It's like you're doing like a bunch of giant adult Legos across, massive warehouse, and chemistry combined with it, where you're like, baking, you're fermenting this fruit juice into something else. And then there's a bottling plant and working in there. But it was really hard. During, when you're in season, grapes are coming in, you have to process things as fast as the grapes come in. We were a small winery. That meant, 12 to 14 hour shifts. I worked 30 days in a row because I did 2 seasons back to back, red wine and sparkling wine. And you get really physically strong and you get really tired.
I bet, man.
So I was in great shape.
That's it's a positive to the chaos. It keeps your it kind of keeps your mind clear in a sense of like all that chaos going on. You don't have time to think about anything but the wine.
Best sleep I've ever gotten in my life was when I was working that job. I would go home. I didn't even have a bed, and you're just covered in purple because you're just full of juice and fermented wine. And I didn't even have time to wash my clothes. I would just pass out in my clothes on the ground, and then I would wake up in 8 hours, and then I would go back to work.
The Oompa Loompa reference is it's getting more and more real, especially the covered in purple and all the colors. But that's interesting because like you think of this winery or this vineyard as like this majestic, calm. You always see the people picking the grapes, and it's like you peel back the curtain, and it's just madness and plumbing.
It is running everywhere. No time for lunch. I would run around with a pocket full of almonds, and got real skinny.
Yeah, I can imagine, especially with a bad sleep schedule and eating nothing but almonds and just work.
Yeah,
that's funny. So you lasted 2 seasons, or you just worked 2 seasons back to back?
Yeah, I really only worked there for like a half a year. Those 2 seasons was just 30 days in total, but it feels like a lot longer.
Yeah, I can imagine. Like you said, you're working like 30 days straight. It's like at that point, like you don't want to touch a wine glass ever again.
Oh man, like blood, sweat, and tears really do go into that wine.
Yeah, I can imagine. You're tasting a little bit of Alex with this one. It's blood, sweat, and tears are in it.
Yeah, 2012 if you want that taste.
Yeah, specifically avoid the 2012 White Zinfandel, please. So one of the things we do on the and you kind of touched on it a little bit, but I want to ask you kind of more direct. But one thing we do, it's kind of a part of the series we're doing on When People Talk is, each host has a specific question they ask the guest, and so my question that I like to ask people is, what drives you, whether personal, professional, just what is that thing that drives you?
Yeah, I think I was starting to hit on it a little while ago. Was just wanting I'm a big science fiction person and fantasy person. I, the way my brain works is there really is we really can have effect on what the world looks like. It takes a lot of time and it takes a lot of work, and we might not get exactly where we want to go, but the possibility is there. And it's like, what are you gonna do with it?
Yeah.
I could just do a regular thing, and that's totally cool. Some people, have a family, and that's amazing. We need families. We need more amazing humans. But I decided more to focus on building things that I hope are useful for people and helps their lives improve in some way, and allows all of society to move in a direction that's more positive towards the utopia we all wish to live in one day, but we won't actually. It'll be some far off variation of it, but at least if we can move in that direction a little bit every time we build something, especially when you're designing like incentive systems. Crypto is a really interesting place where you have to be really careful about how you design things. Not just crypto. I mean, we can talk about social systems like Facebook and things, and how you design those experiences, and that has a big effect on the rest of the world. But kind of a long rant, but I just want to build useful things, and I know I have some amount of control on what we build.
That's awesome, man. I like the way you put that too. Because the only our future is going to be what we build or what we. It's either what we build or what we don't get around to building, right? Like you said, what you read about in science fiction, like it's going to be a derivative of that, but whether it's a good derivative or a bad derivative is completely based on the people that are actually going to go out and take the time to build it, to kind of progress humans to the next thing,
Yeah, we're going to the singularity, right? We're all going to merge with machines.
Yeah, absolutely.
Elon's paradise.
I'm telling you, we're already in the simulation. I'm hosting a podcast. I don't know how I got here. I mean, I woke up one day and someone was like, "Hey, you're gonna do a podcast." So, yeah, in my head. In my head, we're already in a simulation. Like I thought about it. Back in the during the StormX Poker Invitational, I was like, we got invited to go, and I'm just sitting there like, what is my life now? Like, what are we?
I'm a professional poker player. Okay.
Like I'm sitting like Phil Hellmuth's right there. Like I shouldn't be in the same room as Phil Hellmuth. You know what I mean? Like in my head, I'm like how did life snowball into this direction? Like, don't get me wrong, very, very happy with it, but that's part of that. You think about the multiverse theory of obviously this is the Bills that chose this strand that sent him down this direction.
Oh yeah.
Like just randomly finding StormX and then this and this, and then it all kind of rolled into like, hey, there's Tom Dwan.
The serendipity of just how did I get to where I am right now from 33 years ago?
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, you took an interesting traveled path too. I mean, adventuring, hiking, wineries, tech jobs, startups, and now StormX, and from Seattle to Miami.
Yeah, never thought I would live in Florida. Growing up, the only exposure I had to Florida was like Florida Man news, and that was my perception of Florida. And I think that stuff is those are all factual stories that were reported, but it's actually a really
100%.
awesome state. Yeah.
Look, every state has a Florida man. Just Florida
Yeah.
man makes the news more often.
Oh yeah. He's got the best brand.
Alaska man is there. There's just less cameras. I mean, let's be,
Yeah. There's probably crazier stuff going on in Alaska.
yeah, probably, man. Just like I
Instead of
said,
instead of gators, it's bears.
yeah, polar bears. Yep. Um, yeah, man. You know, one thing I like about StormX, and like I said, I hate going back to just making this about StormX, but I like I like how StormX is interested in moving past the typical, business structure of like
Mhm.
give us money and we'll give you product. Like
Yeah.
if I'm describing that right, but it's, I like how crypto opens up these possibilities, right? So like they add a different layer. You have cashback services and products, but you know they're limited to the limitations and regulations that we've put on all these things already. And crypto is still in this kind of, I wouldn't say wild west, but of like new frontier of possibilities, because like corporations and industries, like they're so set in their ways that already make them money. And then you have something profound and new like crypto that comes around. It's like, hey, yeah, we can do what you can do, but we can do it better, and we can turn the dials up a little bit and make it funner and more interactive. And you wonder why people are like regulation, regulation, regulation. But
Yeah.
but
It's
that's what I was gonna ask you. Like, what about crypto that really excites you the most?
that excites me to know the most about crypto.
I know that's
It,
I
it
know that's
is
such a vague question. Sorry.
no, no, no. It's been the DAO space most consistently for me. What's been most exciting, and that's because I think it's fascinating seeing humans work together. Just how we've done that in the past. What types of structures we've formed over time to try and coordinate human activity for like a larger goal than one person can accomplish on their own. And then DAO's just introduced some new technology that allows for some other characteristics we haven't seen before, and that's the classic like decentralization. Shared wallets, voting system that are transparent and trustless. So I think with these new technologies, it'll be interesting to see how humans coordinate better. If we choose to design systems, certain ways. One of my favorite, I guess this isn't in the DAO space. There are DAO, but favorite crypto products that does a really good job of doing like really ethically sound incentive systems is it Pool Party? Pool Party. They do a lossless lottery. So traditional lotteries, you buy a ticket, you don't win, you lose that money.
Yeah.
What they do instead is you buy a ticket, all of that money is pooled together. It is then, I believe they're doing a lending model. So they lend it out, they earn interest on it. The winner of the lottery gets that interest. Pool Party gets some of that interest as a fee, but everyone else gets their money back. So from the human behavior perspective, like we love gambling, we love like risk taking. We have, so it's a way to like still satisfy that behavior that all of us have, but also like it's kind of like you're tricking people into saving money, which is good for
That's a good way to think about it. That's a good way to put it.
Yeah. And if we can design more of those systems over time, I think that's where we directionally move everyone in the right place. So hoping to see more of that stuff pop up.
One that reminds me of there's a subreddit that does something. It's different, but it's more of like it's gambling, but it's not. So they do a really cool thing. It's called I think it's called Millionaire Maker. So their thought process is, everybody enters to win. You don't have to pay anything. There's no upfront fee or anything like that. It's essentially a comment to win type scenario. They put it into a random generator. One commenter is selected. Then they post an address, and if you entered and you want to, you submit, at least you give whoever won $1, right? So their philosophy is, if they have 1 million people enter and each person gives $1, then every month they can create a millionaire just off of the donations, which
Nice.
it's really cool. Obviously that, you can donate in Bitcoin or you can donate in other cryptos or however you want. But yeah, that kind of reminded me of that, of just like if you pull enough people together, like you can do stuff like that without an upfront guarantee or like gambling or raffling. But the interest, the part you're talking about where they're kind of getting money back from that off the interest is really cool. That kind of like group pool mentality of like let's all gamble, but essentially let's all pool our money and save together. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like encouraging your friend to stop eating out so much. It's like, look, this is how much you can save.
Yeah, it's great, and it's sustainable. Like I'm looking forward to see how well they do. Maybe maybe that's something. Anyways,
yeah, man.
about to go off on more tangents.
Yeah, I was gonna say let's keep the genius bottled up. We can't, we won't venture down into too many crazy tangents. But no, I mean it's like you said, it's like the possibilities of like DAOs and stuff of that nature and governance in general. It's like, if enough people agree to this, then we can all pool our resources and attempt to do this. I've seen a couple one. There was one that I think they were talking to Simon a bunch on Twitter. It was Crosshouse, I think, is the name of the DAO is Crosshouse, to where these people are all getting together and it's a DAO formed to eventually buy an NBA team. Like that's their long-term goal. And man, those guys grind. They grind. Like I think they had a famous sportscaster in there for an AMA one time. I think they had a basketball player in there for an AMA one time. Like, but it's so cool. It's so cool to see the snowball effect, right? Or yeah, like, so you have a couple people that come up with an initial idea, then they gather all these people that really like it, and then they start pulling in resources and group tank mentality of like everybody's thinking about the best way to do this. And it's so crazy when human beings all get together and they all collectively, focus on one idea. Like the possibilities are endless. Like those guys probably will 5 years from now own an NBA team. That sounds so crazy now, but where does it steamroll to, 5 years from now?
For sure. There's Constitution DAO. They were getting close to being able to fund the Constitution. I heard about one recently for a golf course. So people can adapt, like a DAO would own a golf course, because some people really love golf. But yeah, where's it going to end up? Doing all of those things and more. Gitcoin's focus is to really help with underlying public goods. So that's their mission. That's another DAO that's just focused on raising funds for public good projects. And I think that's probably one of the more important ones, is just getting important infrastructure into the hands of the community. I don't know, what's a project on there? Anyways, I'll think of some of the projects on there.
Yeah, afterward you'll send me a message later, like, this is what I was thinking about. Yeah. But the one thing I've liked the most about just the crypto community in general is you meet so many people, And like, I feel like each time you meet somebody, now don't get me wrong, you, for better or for worse, you're going to meet who you meet online. But, you know, every now and then, like, somebody introduces themselves to you, and, you know, whether you're on a project together or not, it's like you just met this random person across the world, but he's a marketing guy, or you just met this person across the world and he's a coder, and you know, you meet this guy over here that he can write his own smart contracts. It's just like, it's so crazy, like the power and the resources we have these days. It's like crypto was inevitable in a sense of like this global decentralized service that everybody can equally contribute to. At the same time, all these different resources of people that, you know, 30 years ago never would have interacted, or even, you know, even what, 20 years ago, half of the world wouldn't have interacted in the way they are today.
Yeah, it's wild. We're becoming more interconnected than ever. First, it was information, you know, and financially we've already been interconnected, but now it's just the next iteration of that. So yeah, it's gonna be weird.
It's a great way to put it.
Yeah, the other reason why things feel, this gets a little more a little esoteric, but everything that you see, you know, you turn on the news, everything just looks crazy. Whatever it is, war, financial systems, a lot of the reason why I think those things pop up is just how technology and culture is accelerating. So, you know, humans, we don't really evolve that quickly. It takes a really long time. You know, our machinery, the way our brain works, how we think, how we socialize together, all that still works the exact same from a couple 100,000 years ago.
Yeah.
But our culture and then the technology we've built in terms of like, you know, better than a stick type technology has built off of itself so much faster than we're able to keep up. So we get a lot of dissonance going back and forth between, you know, who we are as a species and what the environment we're shaping around us is starting to look like, whether it's like physical, you know, environment or, you know, social structures or anything like that. Another fun side tangent. But that's I think someone coined the phrase like telescopic evolution. Yeah, this tangent eventually goes down into singularity stuff, but yeah.
That's man, that's crazy. Like you're opening you're opening my mind.
I'm opening crazy doors, man.
You are, but it's like it's deep stuff. Like, I like it. It's like is it craziness or is it learning to process at the same time? You know what I mean? Like, is everything you're seeing crazy, and are we all crazy, or are we all just learning to adapt to what we're seeing for the first time? You know, that's really interesting. It's like, you know, like you said, technology skyrocketing, but we're just on this slow trajectory of learning how to deal with it all.
Yeah, I think that's where a lot of the problems arise from. We're moving really fast. Some would argue, I think there's a few sides to this argument. One side would say the way we solve problems is with more technology. Another side would say we solve this problem by going backwards, like where we were, you know, a few hundred years ago is better. Definitely keep some of the technology and medicine and things, but we're moving too quickly and we need to slow down. Yeah, there's an interesting book that takes that perspective called Ishmael. It's about a telepathic gorilla that teaches humans about technology and just culture and stuff. It's a short read, but it's a fun perspective.
Ishmael, I'll have to look that up. Gives me Gorilla Grodd vibes.
Yeah, you want to read about a telepathic gorilla? Great book.
Yeah, that's man, but you know, you start to think about it, it's like that's the grass is always greener mentality, either side you go, right? You know, like, you know, how much better off would we be with much more advanced technology, and how much better off would we be if we rolled the dials back a little bit? And then you never know, mother nature might just do it for us, but it's all going to work out how it works out, I guess.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, we still have in terms of like Mother Nature working it out for us or us working it out for us. Another interesting foundation is the Long Foundation. And then there's a group of people that work on, what do they call them? X factors, X problems. Anyways, it's the study of things like nuclear warfare, meteor strikes, climate change, and just rating them on their likelihood. And still at the very top is nuclear warfare, but not from the perspective of nation states, but from the perspective of like the ability to obtain plutonium and the cost of developing, like putting together the material and the expertise. The cost of it has dropped significantly over time. And it's now cheap enough that if you were to pull together, you know, so many millions of dollars, a group of people could just source the materials and build a nuclear weapon. And then, you know, so there's another fun tangent to go on.
I was gonna say, like, of all things on this mass scale of what might happen, it's like, nope, nuclear warfare. Like it's still there. Like you said,
they do a lot
technology's advancing, you know what I mean? And you know, nuclear power is still nuclear power, you know? Like,
yeah.
Well, we've been going at this for a little bit. I think nuclear warfare is a good.
You want to end it with nuclear warfare?
We can end it on really anything, but you know what? Let's go out with a bang. Sorry. I had that.
That's perfect.
I had that at the top of my head, but Alex, I appreciate you taking the time to let me interview you and ramble on about the many tangents we went on. I had a blast, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah, let's do it again. We'll do some more tangents. We'll go down the rabbit hole.
Yeah, anytime you want to go down a rabbit hole, you just let me know. My brain likes to go travel down, you know, light and dark corners of the internet and the world. So like I said, I appreciate it.
Yeah, likewise, Bills. I had a good time. We'll catch up again soon.
Yes, sir. All right, guys, that's going to be a wrap. Thanks for tuning in to Wen People Talk, and I'll catch you on the next one.